I wanted to put together this video because I feel like there are a lot of bourbons out there that are a phenomenal value, but they don't get talked about as much as like the latest, greatest release that's maybe in the higher price range. Maybe it's a little bit more rare or allocated, and that's a little bit sexier to talk about. But I've noticed, especially as I've talked with a few different distillers, Kentucky Bourbon Festival, visiting distilleries, I'm like, some of these are very affordable for the quality of the product that you're getting. So that kind of inspired this video. The idea is these are 4 different bourbons that are exactly that. They are a much better value than the price that you're paying, in my personal opinion, or they're at least, they deserve to be considered one of those solid staples. Very similar to a Knob Creek, a Woodford Reserve, a Wild Turkey Rare Breed, something like that. Those, everybody knows those names, everybody's heard of those, and if you go to your liquor store, they're widely available, you'll grab one of them. But there's some other bottles that are becoming more widely available that I think are phenomenal deals as well. Maybe they just don't have the hype behind them. So we're gonna start with this guy right here. We're gonna start with Town Branch True Cask Bourbon Whiskey. I was introduced to True Cask when I visited Town Branch's distillery in Lexington, Kentucky. My finger is right on the label, you can't even see that. There we go. Hopefully that's a good view right there. I think I had it before at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, probably. But when I visited Town Branch in Lexington, that was the first time that I really sat down and appreciated it, learned about it. And so what is it? Town Branch True Cask is a blend. It's a very small batch, a blend of a few different barrels of cask strength Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It is a blend of different mash bills, so it doesn't have any one mash bill. It's not age stated, but they do put on the website that the average age is about 7 years if you average out everything that goes into it. They do a little bit of younger stuff for some of those flavors and a little bit of older stuff for some of those flavors. You get an average of 7 years. Roughly, with the age of it. And then this one is 116.6 proof. Now, why is it on this list? Why am I considering it an undervalued bourbon? I would consider it that because it's a cask strength Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and they sell it for $43 for this bottle. In my opinion, that's a phenomenal deal. If you think of it this way, all you have to do is be close to as good as Wild Turkey Rare Breed to deserve a spot in the same conversation along with Wild Turkey Rare Breed, which like most people acknowledge, that's a great deal. And in my opinion, at least the last time that I had this, it was definitely close to as good as Wild Turkey Rare Breed and $7 cheaper, at least in my state. Rare Breed's 50 bucks. So it's just a really, really nice price. It jumps out of the glass at you on the nose. Very bright. You get the oak with like the fruit sweet, with the candy sweet, with the dried fruit, maybe a little bit of like sugar or candy. It jumps out of the glass. Not overly ethanol on the nose, not overly alcoholic on the nose either. Lots of really nice flavors. And then it's, like I said, the undertone of all that is a nice oak backbone. I am going to take a sip of it. Now, I'm going to do my best here on this video, but full transparency, I got to work out in like 2 hours. So I'm not going to be drinking these. I'm going to be spitting them out, and then as always, I take a real small drink at the end so I can get a good finish and explain that finish to you. But if it's anything like I remember, and if it's anything like this nose is right now, it's going to be fantastic. One last thing about this nose that I'm noticing, it has a little bit of what I consider like a banana flavor. There's like an undertone of a banana or a banana cream. I get that strong from Woodford Reserve and from Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. It's not that strong here, but I do get a little bit of it. So if you know that distinct flavor, even if you don't think it's banana, if you know that flavor that I'm talking about, it definitely has a little bit of it. Okay, let's dive into the palate. I'll cut out the spitting because I care about you. But so much flavor on the palate. Not quite as much as the nose, at least for this batch, I will say. The nose is like so delicious, so much flavor, but still a ton of flavor on the palate. I mean, it's 116.6 proof. It didn't burn me up. This is my first glass of whiskey today. Didn't light my mouth on fire. You get a lot of those nice oaky notes. I will say on the palate, it kind of leans away from that fruity and the notes become more caramelized. So now you've got like darker notes. You've got caramel, you've got brown sugar. You got that type of an oak happening on the palate. It's even a little bit floral. you get a little bit of tannin, maybe a little bit of an astringency. I don't see that as any kind of a problem under 50 bucks. I get that from Wild Turkey Rare Breed all day long. At $43, you're getting so much flavor. There's almost a tiny hair of a nuttiness. I mean, clearly, like, there's a lot going on here for a $43 bottle. $43. That's one of those that, like, I didn't appreciate it until I put the price into perspective. And I'm picturing Wild Turkey Rare Breed, which I love, and for some reason I'm using that to compare to, probably because it's cask strength. It was one of my first, like, cask strength bourbons that I purchased. Wild Turkey Rare Breed at around 50 bucks. Redwood Empire Pipe Dream, I love, but it's about 40 bucks. This is $3 more, and I'm not dissing Pipe Dream. Absolutely love it. But this is cask strength. This has more complexity going on. For $3 more, just in that price range, for me, this is like unheard of. If you have something similar to this, throw it down in the caption, because I'm probably going to make another one of these videos. Let's get it finished before I am done gushing about this bottle. We'll move on to the next. Then as it finishes, it's almost like some of that bright fruit comes back from the nose. On the palate, it gets darker. You get more of the oak, a little bit more ashy, a little bit more charred. Then on the finish, it's almost like it comes back. It brightens up a little bit, lingers for a long time. I've still got it. And then, like right about now, it's starting to fade. Right about now, I'm getting a little bit less of it, and it's leaving behind. It's not even that bitter, actually. A lot of times, at least for me, on the finish, when something has a little bit of tannin, it's got a little bit of that oak char. On the finish, that takes over and it becomes super bitter. This is still a little bit like mouth-watering, almost a tiny, tiny bit savory, I would say. Sticks around on the palate. Now I'd say it's about gone. That, for $43, come on, you're gonna ask for more than that? I'm with it all day long. I was so impressed. When I went to Town Branch, like I said, I had, I think, tasted this before at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, but I don't think I knew the MSRP or caught it in conversation when I was talking to Dave Bob from Town Branch, from Lexington Brewing and Distilling. By the way, sidebar, I absolutely love their beers as well. Their barrel-aged ales are phenomenal. I got to try a couple while I was there. That's totally neither here nor there. But if you're a beer person, trust me, try some of them. I love them. They're a little out of my price range. They're very expensive for a beer, but they're so good. They're so good. Anyhow, back to why we're here. But I was blown away when I learned the price of it. I learned it was 43 bucks, and I was like I said, it put it in context for a second. I'm like, that's a phenomenal price. That's amazing. So that's our first one. Town Branch True Cask from Lexington Brewing and Distilling Company. Now this next one, I'm trying to go with stuff you probably haven't heard of, or at least stuff that I don't see hype about online. I do think New Riff gets a little bit of hype online, but I don't think just their flagship does. Because New Riff does come out with a bunch of other really good stuff as well. Let's put this Glencairn out of the way. By the way, we're using black Glencairns because I did a barrel pick last night, virtual barrel pick, and I dirtied all of my clear Glencairns. So we're using black Glencairns today. That barrel pick, by the way, going to be available here soon. The Whiskey Noobs crew, go check that down in the description. I'll put a link down there. You get first dibs if you're in the Whiskey Noobs crew. Anyhow, I digress. New Riff, I feel like, does have some really nice special releases that really make a splash, and they almost have a cult following. People who know about them. They love them. But this was another bottle where I had it before, and to be totally transparent with you, I bought this bottle a long time ago, and you can see I haven't drank that much out of it. And I revisited it not too long ago. And I thought to myself, for about 40 bucks, this is doing what I would want it to do. This is what I would expect from a $40 bottle. It's really nice. It's not offensive. It's approachable. What is it? I have it down here in my notes. Let's talk about that first. It is a 4-year bottled and bond, so 4-year, 100 proof, bottled and bond bourbon. It's just meant to be a bourbon-y bourbon. It's high-rye, I want to say 30%. 30% rye in the mash bill, so rather high rye. And it is one of their core expressions. This is like the core expression. So like I mentioned, they come out with other stuff, and they when they come out with this other stuff, it usually makes a big splash because they come out with some pretty cool special stuff. I haven't even been able to have very much of their special stuff, but they do come out with lots of special stuff that I've heard nothing but great things about. So New Riff Distillery down in Newport, Kentucky, and this is just their core bottle, okay? 4-year, bottled and bond, 100 proof. I know that I said that already. Why is it in this video? Why does it deserve to be in this video? Because for about $40, I ask that a bourbon is approachable. I ask that it's something that I can share with friends. It tastes like bourbon. It tastes good. And I think that this does that. I also think for the amount of rye in the mash bill, if this tastes like I remember it tasting, not super spicy, not overly rye, not overly black pepper. It does high rye really well. I always forget to talk about this. Excuse me. I'm talking about high rye whiskeys. This is a fantastic high rye bourbon. Anyhow, let's dive into the nose. Very classic high rye bourbon. Immediately I'm getting vanilla. I'm getting a little bit of spice, a little bit of black pepper, but it's bright. It's caramely. There's a little bit of the baking spice behind it. Just really like what you would expect from a high rye bourbon, but nice. Not a lot of ethanol, not a lot of burn, not burning my nose at all. I mean, at only 100 proof, I wouldn't want it too much, right? Just pleasant. I would say just pleasant. Then I don't ask for much more than that at $40. This at $43 is unreal. But I think if you want to put this in the category of, I think Michter's is phenomenal, but you want to put this in the category of a Michter's, of a Four Roses small batch, of what else is around 40 bucks, Redwood Empire Pipe Dream that I mentioned. I think this deserves to be in that category all day long, and I don't hear it get talked about as much. Come on. That is sweet. It's approachable. What I call flavor density, so like the amount of flavor you're getting for the amount of alcohol burn that you're getting. Great flavor density. There's a lot going on there that you can pick apart because of that rye influence, but it somehow still has a lot of the sweetness, it has a lot of the caramel along with that rye influence. So it gives you something to think about. Really nice balance of sweet and spice. Right there, I noticed a little bit of something like, I don't know. It came across as a little bit, maybe chemically, maybe medicinal would be the right word. Maybe a touch medicinal. So there's a little something that might off-put some people, but might be nicely unique for other people. Because aside from that, I don't think this is an overly unique bottle. But it's just solid. Is this, out of anything on the list, I think everything has its own personality. I was thinking of this as like the solid bottle, where you're not going to be upset that you bought it for 40 bucks unless you don't like high rye bourbon, I guess. Just tasty. I also had the opportunity, by the way, this was like 2 years ago, I did a barrel pick. Yeah, 2 years ago this summer, I did a barrel pick down at New Riff for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and their barrel picks were phenomenal as well. The different samples that we tried were fantastic. I was impressed by them. We picked a delicious barrel for Kentucky Bourbon Festival. My biggest regret was that I didn't think to go buy one. I had a sample of it. I still have a sample of it somewhere here. Didn't think to go buy one. I was too busy having fun at KBF. The festival ends. Somebody who was on the pick with me is like, "Did you go get a bottle of our barrel pick?" And I was like, didn't think of that. That would have been really smart. Anyhow, you live and you learn. If you haven't been to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, it's a whirlwind. There's a lot going on. And so, you know, you got to give me a little bit of grace. Okay, our next bottle here, Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is their Origin series. I didn't hold up New Riff super close to the camera. Let's get one close up for you. That's what that looks like in case you've never seen it before. And now we've got Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin series. This is their high wheat, specifically their high wheat 106 proof bottle. This one, so when I was first introduced to it, I liked it. This is good bourbon. I forget how I got this bottle, to be totally honest with you. But I was like, oh, I think I got it for a podcast that I was doing. And I think they did send this as a sample, I think. I don't remember for sure. But anyhow, I first got it. I liked it. I thought this is good, right? It's tasty. And then somebody in one of my comments said that this was better than Antique 107. And so I was like, I gotta try that. So I did a video, I tried, I did a blind tasting of them. And why is this on this list? It's on this list because for about 50 bucks, I truly think it's better than Antique 107. I did multiple blind tastings of it. It won multiple times. Antique 107 does the sweet fruity a little bit better than this does. But this significantly more complex, significantly more going on, way more interesting in my opinion, more different flavors to try to look for. And that's what I enjoy about it. So I have had it a few times, and I've had it in blind tastings. So this is one that I know what I'm going into when I taste this, but I'm excited to taste it either way because I really, really enjoy it. Once again, this is specifically the high wheat, 106 proof, and I do have some information on it here. Yeah, so when they say high wheat, they mean high wheat. It was 39% wheat in the mash bill. It is 39% wheat in the mash bill, rather. I already mentioned this is 106 proof, but it's age stated at 6 years. And this is part of their Origin Series lineup at Bardstown Bourbon Company. So this was distilled, aged, and bottled on their property at Bardstown Bourbon Company. And so that is why it makes it one of their core expressions, and you're really getting a taste of what Bardstown is able to do, what Bardstown distillate and aging is like. And it already smells as good as I remember. For me, on the nose, this is candy. This is sweet. It reminds me a little bit of like Twizzler, which reminds me of Weller 107, by the way. I get that from Weller 107. It has that sweetness that you want from a wheated bourbon. It has a little bit of that burnt sugar. It has that fruitiness to it that, like I said, for me, it's a little bit more like Twizzler. It's got a little bit of a cinnamon to it. Not overly bready, which I would think for this amount of wheat, I would get a lot of a breadiness to it. Not as much as I would expect. And I will say on the nose, the palate for me on this is what blows my mind. On the nose, you do get a little bit of an alcohol. Okay, I'll say that, but we're at about 50 bucks, and in my opinion, we're better than Weller 107. I can't wait. Let's just dive into it. I can't believe that this is 106 proof. It just glides across your tongue. I mean, it just goes down like glass. It's so nice. Not glass shards, smooth glass. It is just so nice. It's sweet. It has a little bit of that fruit. Now, on the palate, I would say it transitions towards that wheat flavor, that slightly breadier flavor. That fruit takes a little bit of a backseat, which is where 107, if you specifically want that fruity flavor, it does that better. Overall, this does everything else better, in my opinion. I get more flavor from it. It's more approachable. It's nice and sweet. And I'm not trying to, by the way, I'm not here to bash 107, Weller 107. Phenomenal bottle. I'm just praising this bottle. So I'm going to be done comparing to 107. But this is approachable, it's sweet, it's nice on your tongue, you get a ton of flavor right away. And then, something that I don't think I appreciated at first is you can dig in, there's some complexity here. I start to get almost a grassy note that I would expect from something with some rye in it, but this doesn't have any rye in it. I almost get a little bit of a fresh cut hay. Definitely some caramel, definitely moves into that sweet bread, but still in the background, you've also got that fruit, that Twizzler, whatever it is that you want to call it. Let's get a finish of it. Oh, just candy. This is actually one of my favorite bottles right now. And I'm realizing it as I'm tasting it. This is such a good bottle. It's right at a perfect proof point. I love that 106 proof point. On the finish, it lingers around a little bit. You do get a little bit of bitterness that shows up, but still that candy sweet is there. Still, I'm noticing that candy sweet. It's got a little bit of that caramel sticking it out through that finish as it gets a little bit more bitter. But we're at the $50 price point. I think that the complexity, the flavor, the approachability being at 106 proof is just almost unmatched at this price point. There are a couple of other good ones that I'm actually probably going to do a follow-up to this video with more underpriced bourbons. So there are a couple, but this is just phenomenal. That is so tasty. You know, my tongue's a little bit burnt out from that barrel pick that I did last night, and this is still just tasty, approachable, just all around nice. I can't praise that one enough. That might be, like I said, that might be like a personal favorite of mine. I just bumped my mic. I hope it didn't mess up your guys' audio. I'm sorry if it did. This next one, I don't even have open because I had an open bottle of this and I gave it away to a friend. And so it went to good use, but now we're on to this bottle. This is a media sample that they sent me. Full disclosure here. Ingram Uncharted. Let's open this bottle. I don't know if there's a trick for this. I always get the plastic, like it's hard to get it off the cork, but I don't like it on the cork. Anyhow, this comes from the Ingram Distillery. This is their Uncharted. Now, I was introduced to this at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. I'll give you a closer up look. By the way, I love the bottle design. I love how much of the whiskey you can see. I think it looks awesome. I love the simplicity but elegance of this bottle design. This is their Uncharted release. So I tried this before Kentucky Bourbon Festival in a media sample, and then I went to KBF, and I was like, that's tasty. Tastes good. Sure, that's good bourbon. And then I went to KBF, talked to them. This is a very similar situation as the True Cask. Sometimes I just don't put the MSRP into perspective, I think, because then I go to KBF and I'm talking to them. And by the way, Ingram's stuff is all aged on the Mississippi River. So they have barges out there that float on the river, and they're aging barrels on it. I know we've seen various different methods of water aging. It has been done. The idea, which I loved when I went to KBF and I talked to them about this, was the idea behind bourbon, different tales about where bourbon came from, but one of them is that they shipped whiskey down the Mississippi River in barrels, and when it got down to the bottom, it was aged. And whether you believe that's the origin of bourbon or not, definitely in the original days of bourbon, they were shipping it down the Mississippi River. And so the thought is, let's put it back out on the river and let's age it that way. And you get a few different effects because of that. You get the rocking of the boat, which we all have heard in a few different marketing campaigns. Yes, that does cause more interaction with the wood. You've also got a difference in humidity because you're right there on the river. You've also got, the river rises and falls. You've got different changes in where the barge is at any given moment, depending on how high or low the river is. So there's a few different things at play there. How much does it affect the flavor of the whiskey? I don't know, but it's a very cool story. I think it's a cool story. What blew my mind, this is meant to be like their handshake, I believe is what Hank said. I did a podcast with Hank from the Ingram Distillery, and he mentioned it's like the handshake. It's like, get to know Ingram, get to know us in our lineup. And as a result, what I didn't realize is this is a $35 bottle. So when I'm at KBF and they tell me this is $35, I was like, okay, you don't have to sell me any more on this. I'd already had it. I already knew that it was a good bottle. And this is a wheated mash bill. They don't age state it, but it is aged on the Mississippi, and it is 92 proof. So going into this, we need to have a perspective here, right? We're looking at something that's priced about like a Woodford Reserve. We're looking at something that's priced about like a Four Roses small batch. $35, relatively inexpensive. This is cheaper than Michter's, at least in my area. This is cheaper than the Redwood Empire Pipe Dream that I previously mentioned. And all these bottles I'm comparing to, I love these bottles. I hope you guys know that. I know I haven't talked about many bottles on this channel yet because it's still a little bit newer, but those are all bottles that I love, which is why I'm comparing to them, because I think they're fantastic. So at $35, I'm just asking you to taste good. That's all I want. Like, I want a bourbon that tastes like bourbon and tastes good. On the nose, very sugary sweet. Maybe the most out of all of these, the most of a white sugar, cotton candy, that sort of a sweetness. With a backing of a little bit of oak and a backing of a little bit, I don't think I want to call it honey. I think I'm going to call it like a light caramel. It's not darkly caramelized. It's not brown sugar and molasses. It's a light one. Ooh. You do get a little bit of the breadiness on this nose. You do get a little bit of that that wheat breadiness. Okay. Come on. The stupid wire, that is sweet. That is approachable. That blows my mind that it doesn't get talked about more for the $35 price point. This is a bottle that if you're at the store and you want bourbon, and you're like, I just want something that's gonna taste good. I got buddies coming over. We're gonna play poker tonight. I just want something that's gonna taste good. This is that bottle, and it's $35, which is like exactly what you want that bottle to cost. You got nice flavor, super approachable. I mean, granted, these were all a little bit higher proof, but not burning my tongue like at all. It's not drying my tongue out, which is already beat up from the barrel pick I did last night. We had 6 samples, not 4, 6. So my tongue's pretty beat up from all that sample tasting. That sounds weird. That sounded weird. But overall, It's just approachable and sweet and a lot of flavor. Now, what flavor am I getting? I'm rambling here. You know, it's a little biscuity, a little bready, but that's almost just the backbone of it. I almost get more of sugar, light caramel, and a touch of fruitiness. Now, when you put it next to my candied fruit bottle here, it's not quite as much as that. This leans more towards the bread and the burnt sugar. Burnt sugar is a good one. That sort of a flavor, but there is a little bit. There's a little bit of jamminess to it. There's not much else going on other than that, but I mean, what more do you want for $35? Let's get a finish of it. Small sip. I gotta work out later. I need to not even be buzzed in a couple of hours, and yes, I do have coffee upstairs. Not the longest finish in the world. I would say a shorter finish. I think the nose is really spectacular. The finish, not so much. Tastes like bourbon. Tastes like I just took a sip of bourbon. But for $35, are you really asking for much more from a bottle for that? This, if I had to say any bottle inspired me to start talking about these underpriced bourbons again, and I'm not just saying this lightly, this is just the truth, it was this bottle. When I learned how inexpensive it was, I was like, when did we, or at least me, I'm just convicting myself, I guess, when did I quit talking about these super inexpensive, delicious bottles? And so, this is me correcting that. Like I said, I'm probably going to do a follow-up video with even more of these, so hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and also comment your favorite bottles that you think are underpriced. They drink better than they are, and maybe I will use them in that video, or maybe we'll do 2 or 3 more videos of underpriced bourbons, because I just feel like this is such an underexplored niche? I forget which one it is. Within bourbon, it's underexplored because of all these awesome releases coming out that are amazing, but I don't have the money to buy some of these $100 bottles. I think that's a fantastic note to end on. Listen, if you enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, as I mentioned, the Whiskey Noobs crew is the absolute best way to do that. Please go down in the description. I always have a link of it down there. You can also get first priority for barrel picks. You also get every review that I am sent, every bottle that I'm sent to review, I review on the Whiskey Noobs crew so that I don't have to appease any algorithms. I can just talk, I can just tell you what it is that I'm getting, and then from there is where we find some of these bottles that make it into the videos. But there are some spectacular bottles over there that just aren't in the lineup yet because I haven't had a chance to talk about them. So please go check that out in the description below. Also subscribe, like, comment, ring that notification bell, all those things that really help me out as a YouTube channel. If you like this content, please do that. I'm really trying to improve the quality. Hopefully you guys are seeing that come through. And I really appreciate all your guys' support. Thanks for watching Whiskey Noobs.